All righty. I'm gonna, a couple seconds here. Nobody got excited on me. All right, 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call to order the regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. First on the agenda is roll call.
Chairman Dana Hennis, Commissioner Brian Clark,
Present.
Commissioner Jeannie Greger, Commissioner Jim Main, Commissioner Bobby Rossadillo.
Present.
All right. First on the list is the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, first on the agenda next on the agenda this evening is a presentation on the Idaho Transportation Department SH-69 corridor traffic study. And if you'd say your name and address for the record, please.
Mark Wasdall, Idaho Transportation Department, 8150 Chinden Boulevard, Garden City, 83714.
Megan Romanesco, DKS Associates. I actually don't know. Sorry.
I know where you are, but
I think it's 704 East United Heritage Court. I guess I did know it.
I would like to thank the Planning and Zoning Commission for hearing our presentation of our project. You see the name Leah Kelsey. She is, because this is baseball season, she is on the disabled list, and she is not moving very well right now. For our project, we'd like to cover the background and purpose of our study. We're going to look at traffic and crash history, proposed vision, and public feedback. Our project, looking at the background of the state highway, it was widened from a 2-lane rural highway to a 4-lane current cross-section in 2 different projects, one in the early 1990s from Amity Road north up to the interstate, and the early 2000s from Kuna all the way to Amity. Due to increased traffic development, crashes, delay times. Background of our project is that we started ours as a traffic study, and we sort of did more from there after a while. But we had a corridor vision. We wanted to keep traffic moving. We wanted to allow for safe and efficient access on and off the corridor, and also for multimodal facilities as it became more of a suburban facility. We started our project in 2019. We used a 2045 future year. Our last project we had there in 2000 that we constructed from Kuna to Amity. The document behind that project looked at traffic out to the year 2022, so it was time to look out further. We'd pretty much exhausted the out years on that document. We wanted to develop a range of conventional and non-standard, and people say, what's non-standard intersection? If you at State Street and Veterans Memorial Parkway, that's an example where you drive past the light in order to make a U-turn and then continue and then make a right turn instead of making a direct left. So we looked at those in 2019. In 2020 to 2021, we had a virtual open house, and part of an open house is to identify points of controversy as well as points of agreement. And as part of our process, separately with a team, ACHD was not interested in non-conventional high-capacity intersection treatments. At that time, we were interested in them. There was pretty much a 5-to-1 dislike of the through-U intersection we showed, which was, as I said before, the example of State Street and Veterans Memorial. There was some support for an expressway. From 2021, 2023, we put a pause on it as ITD internally was debating the efficiency of non-standard intersection treatments, which do give you better performance versus driver expectations of conventional intersections. That was actually played out in a separate project, so we sat back and watched them from the sidelines. That was the Karcher Road widening project that actually started construction, but because they were a design for construction project and we weren't, they were the better ones to work forward with our headquarters and make decisions there. Also, in the meantime, the city had started a study looking for a southern extension of Meridian Road for a railroad crossing, and so that added some more information we needed to tie into our study. So then we hit the second phase where we had decisions made to not pursue non-standard intersection treatments. So we rescoped, negotiated, and updated our contract agreement with 6 Mile Engineering. You'll hear DKS. DKS purchased 6 Mile, so for us they're synonymous. For you, it might be a little confusing to keep throwing different names around. In summer of 2024, we adopted the 2050 Compass forecast, so we went up 5 years. Met with technical team there in the summer of 24, and we developed roll plots and cross sections. Those had been something else that was asked of the team, not only by our Development Services Department at District 3, but also cities of Kuna and Meridian. They were getting a lot of development applications in, and they needed to have a picture and some calculations to show what applicants were going to build towards in this corridor. Also, our headquarters selected a full access scenario, which means access at the mile and at the half mile, signalization at the half mile when warranted. And we'll cover that as we go on. We presented that to the technical team in the spring of this year, had a virtual open house April 7th through 21st, which we'll cover at the end of our slide deck. And we're doing agency presentations to let agencies, cities know what we've heard and what our steps are going forward. And we're expecting to probably finalize the traffic study next month.
Okay, so to give you an idea of what the existing and future traffic looks like, so the segment or the project is broken up into kind of 2 segments. There's the north-south segment, which goes from Overland Road to Kuna Road, and then there is the east-west segment that goes from Orchard Avenue to Kuna Road. And so on the north-south portion of the project, on the north end, existing volumes are about 37,000 per day, and looking at the 2050 volumes, those are expected to more than double and be about 77,000 cars per day, which exceeds what we see on Eagle Road today. If you look at the east-west portion of the roadway, traffic is actually expected to decrease, and we're seeing this because of the plans to extend Meridian Road south of Kuna Road, and also because of the plans to reconfigure Kuna to a standard 4-leg intersection. And just something to note there is both of those improvements were included in the Compass modeling to develop volumes for the project and our traffic models as well. So looking at the travel times when driving the corridor, existing, it's going to take about 15 minutes for the dominant northbound direction in the morning and 13 minutes for the dominant southbound direction in the PM. If you take the 2050 volumes and you do nothing, we will increase the travel times will increase by 3 minutes for the southbound PM commute, and they will increase to up to 42 minutes for the northbound commute. If you look at the travel times for the proposed vision that we're sharing with you today, the 2050 travel times for the northbound AM goes to 14.8 minutes, which is just slightly better than what you see existing, and 11 minutes for the southbound PM commute. We did a summary of all the crashes on State Highway 69 between 2019 and 2023, and there were 579 crashes, with most of them being intersection-related crashes. There were 5 fatalities on the corridor, with 3 at the north end, one of those being at Calderwood and 2 at Victory Road. And then there was 1 fatality between Columbia and Hubbard, and 1 at the Cuna Curve. Side note for these crashes, 3 of the 5 fatalities were due to a drug or alcohol impaired driver. This helps give an idea of where the crashes are happening. So a lot of the crashes are concentrated at the north end of the corridor. That's the higher volume section of the corridor, so that makes sense. And then there's also a lot at the major mile intersections. 47% of the 579 crashes were serious crashes, meaning that they were injury or fatal crashes, which is greater than the Idaho State wide rate of 31% for all roadways in 2023. This corridor was also marked by ITD as a priority safety corridor because most of the State Highway 69 segments have a greater frequency of crashes compared to similar corridors in Idaho. So getting into the proposed vision, so this is for the north-south segment of State Highway 69. The plan is to widen it from 5 lanes to 7 lanes and install a continuous raised median along that whole segment, which will limit access to right in, right out everywhere except the half-mile and major mile intersections, which will be full access. Signalized at the 1 mile and signalized as needed at the half mile. There will also be a 10-foot multi-use pathway separated by a buffer on both sides of the roadway, and then right turns added everywhere for safety at the intersections and access points. This is the cross-section for that segment, so there will be a 30 to 50-foot landscape buffer outside of the right-of-way on both sides of the roadway, which will include that 10-foot multi-use pathway. In addition to that, there's 3 lanes in each direction with 12-foot lanes and an 18-foot raised median in the middle and 8-foot shoulders. The existing right-of-way ranges from 125 feet to 140 feet, and for the cross-section above, the minimum right-of-way that we need is 122 feet. So the goal will be to fit the proposed improvements within the right-of-way where possible. However, in some instances, for drainage improvements or additions of right turn lanes or dual left turn lanes, it's likely to require some additional right-of-way or easements at those locations. For the east-west portion of the project, the plan is to widen Avalon Street to 5 continuous lanes, and this section is broken up into 2 segments per se. There's a more urban segment between the Orchard Avenue and K Avenue, which will have a 7-foot attached sidewalk, and then it will transition into a 10-foot multi-use pathway between K and Cuna. And similar to the north-south segment here, right turn lanes will be added for safety reasons. This is the Cuna Road to K Road cross-section. It's almost identical to the north-south segment cross-section with the center turn lane. Instead of an 18-foot raised median, it's a 14-foot two-way left turn lane. And of course, it's only 2 lanes in each direction. This is the more urban cross-section, which also has a two-way left turn lane and 2 lanes in each direction. But instead of the detached multi-use path, it has attached curb gutter and then attached 7-foot sidewalk. Here's an example of the 18-foot raised median. We went through, we looked at a lot of different median widths for this project, and we landed on the 18-foot raised median because it allows for F-350 passenger vehicles. Some would say that's like the Idaho design vehicle, U-turns at the mid-mile and major mile intersections. Here's an example of that detached 10-foot multi-use path. So this would be at the north-south segment and east of K Avenue, with it having at least an 8-foot minimum buffer between the roadway and the multi-use path, but it would likely be larger. And then just reiterating that the Avalon Road segment between Orchard and K would have 7-foot attached sidewalks instead of the 10-foot multi-use path. The pedestrian crossings at the 1-mile intersections and the half-mile intersections will be single-stage pedestrian crossings, and these half-mile roadways will be signalized as needed when the volumes warrant signals. There's a few special considerations that we ran into during the project, and a few of those being limited right-of-way or steep cut and fill slopes. And so some options when we run into this could be to do tiered pathways, which would place the multi-use pathway closer to the road, but it would be elevated and separated by a barrier. And in the areas where there's steep slopes, you could use retaining walls to help limit the right-of-way that needs to be taken.
During the City of Kuna effort to look at the Meridian Road extension, it was identified that the Kuna curve was not going to be continued with. We go back to a, I guess, 3-way, but long-term 4-way intersection standard. If you go back to 1931, when the state built the roadway, it was a 4-way intersection then. So we're back to the future. We also are potentially doing a future planning and environmental linkages study. We had worked with Compass to put in a grant, which is supposed to be announced, winners and losers, this month, which would cover the extension of the Meridian Road down to Cunamora Road. For special considerations, when we had originally done the traffic study, we had looked at a high-capacity intersection, Overland Road. Standard intersection will not handle the traffic. It's also problematic because it is so close to the I-84 interchange. ACHD was not interested in putting legs of a continuous flow intersection on Overland. At this point, we wouldn't either. That leaves the only option being going vertical if the horizontals are ruled out. We know that there is disappointment that we did not include that in, but big picture is on this, that with any project you have scope, time, and budget. We didn't budget to go through 3D, and also with our original contract and what was advertised and what 6 Mile/DKS was awarded on did not include survey work. And once you go to a 3D structure, you need topographic survey, and we would not be able to add that on to this existing contract. So we're looking at doing a cooperative project with ACHD or bringing that before them. We're actually presenting to the ACHD Commission tomorrow. We'll get their direct feedback on it. but we have done cooperative projects on intersections before with ACHD. I was on one for the Glenwood and State Street intersections. So we've done them in the past, and we'll bring that forward with them. I think our next cooperative meeting with them is in August. So we know this is a highly desired improvement. And in terms of the interchange there, I'm also managing the project to develop a construction bid packet to put a second northbound on-ramp, an auxiliary lane on I-84 eastbound, which would exit at Eagle Road. As part of our study, we determined that we need to put a second right turn southbound lane in. And so that project, we just got a floodplain permit. We're pretty much expecting to finish it up in around October. Right now, it has a 2031 construction year. It will, our board is meeting on this Thursday. They will see our new proposed 7-year budget. In that new 7-year budget, it's still in 2031, but I've been told that it could move up. There is money available, but that's based upon another project we have, which is called the I-84 Mobility Study. That project is a modeling project. It's looking at I-84 from the Y west to Garrity. And the questions are, once the 5-mile overpass is taken down, that's the last original 1960s rural overpass. It has limited traffic underneath it to 4 lanes. Everything else is open to 5 lanes. So this mobility study is looking at, do we want to do 5 through lanes? Do we want to do 4 through lanes and an auxiliary lane between each interchange? We don't have any data on that. We want to have it so we can say whichever decision we make, we have backing for it. We're also looking at ramp metering. We know that helps the interstate, but it also can put a lot of traffic back on the local roads. Again, we want to have that specifically as part of this to be able to tell the public, okay, this is what you get if you do this. It's not an advocacy project for either of those or for the ramp metering, but it's an informational one so we can make decisions and point to the reasons why.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off what Mark said a little bit about those 2 special considerations, like I mentioned before, the Meridian Road extension and the Cuna Road configuration was included in the Compass model and our traffic models, and then the Overland Road intersection was assumed to be a high-capacity intersection in the Compass model, as well as our traffic models, just to ensure that our models got the appropriate amount of vehicles through Overland, so that we ensured that the State Highway 69 was sized appropriately for the 2050 volumes. And so we did look at a few other design options with this second phase, and between the 3 design options, the major mile intersections all were signalized intersections. However, what varied between the alternatives was the half-mile intersections and what access they had. So there was the full access option at the half-mile intersections, and then there was a more restricted option where it was restricted to right in, right out, left in, and then an even more restricted option where it was only right in, right out at those intersections. And we did a lot of extensive modeling where we compared the alternatives, and what we found was that they all performed really similarly to each other, and within 1 minute of travel, like the travel times were within 1 minute of each other. It wasn't like phase 1 where we looked at like more high capacity intersections like the through turns, the median U-turns, and there was like a clear winner. These ones all performed really similar to each other, and what we did see with the full access option was that when you made the half-mile intersections full access, vehicles would reroute to those intersections from the major mile intersections, and it actually made those major mile intersections better because less volumes and there was less delay.
So our public open house, we had virtual in April 7th through the 21st. 1,900 people visited the online meeting site. 135 comment forms were submitted through the webpage. 18 people gave comments via email or phone call. More or less, the reaction was 55% of participants expressed support, 29% did not, 16% remained neutral. And if you actually dig down into likes, dislikes, converting Kuna Curve into a standard intersection was unanimous. There were no negatives on that. So we've been telling people, if you want a safe project that's not going to be controversial, remove the Kuna Curve, put a standard intersection there. Widening, increasing capacity, that was like a 7-to-1, I think, that for the most part, people wanted that. The ones who did not, they had three different points they brought up. One was that you can't build your way out of congestion, so don't build it at all. Put transit in instead, or you'll only encourage more growth if you give another lane. For a buffered multi-use pathway, that one was like 28 positives and 6 negatives. Pretty much the negatives were people envisioning 5-year-olds on bicycles right next to the travel lane instead of it being offset. That's tended to be what the negatives were on that. There were likes for a raised median to increase safety. You'll see also down below that people did not like a raised median too. It was more positive than negative, but on the safety side, people liked it. We showed right-hand turn lanes, and that was another universal. Everyone liked that, and concurred with us showing that. Otherwise, overall safety improvement. Concerns, dislike, unanimous that there was disappointment. There was no plan for an improvement at Overland Road and the I-84 interchange. I think we did have a link in our site to the I-84 project we have, but that's a safe one also to do something there. In terms of public comments. A lot of people did not like half-mile intersections with signalized. I'm thinking Eagle Road. That's actually within our IDAPA policy, Idaho Administrative Policy Act on types of highways and access. So there was dislike of that. A number of people wanted an expressway to be considered. We had originally looked at that, and in the end, it did not perform very well on a cost-benefit ratio. It does move traffic better, but also that's a free-flow facility, and pretty much it runs you into a non-free-flow facility unless you end up putting in a system interchange, which is what we're actually doing at Highway 16 there and 84. We built the standard, money came in, and they said just build the system interchange. So it needs additional pieces to function as an expressway. There was some request for acceleration and deceleration lanes. We actually have deceleration lanes, but with the speed of the facility and the spacings of access points, they would just blend into a single lane. And so it would lose its functionality. And then also there was, raised medians didn't like that, it would limit access. For the most part, there was a general sense that people on the north end of the corridor felt like they were losing their access that they have now, their left ends, to accommodate growth further to the south. And that was pushing a lot of the opposition to raised medians. We were surprised that there were a number of people who at our first public open house, must have been the ones who liked the continuous flow intersections through loops and roundabouts, and pretty much it was, don't listen to those naysayers, put them in. I wasn't really expecting to see those. There was concern about increasing noise and essentially asking about sound walls. Ours is not a construction project that gets handled at the design for construction phase. We know there's left ins but not left outs at Calderwood. That would actually, when looking at any improvements at Overland and Meridian Road. That's within the intersection influence area, and they would get a second look. There was some lamentation at the loss of a rural environment and rural community as growth hits. And there were ups and downs on speed limit changes. I've learned that you'll get probably anywhere from 50 to 55% wanting you to go faster, and the other ones say you better not go slower. It's just what you get on comments on speed limit changes. The most interesting one was someone saying when you put the third lane in, actually a couple people, make the left lane a passing lane, because right now you get two people who drive the speed limit, no one can speed then. It's like, no, ITD does not want to encourage speeding, so we would not put that as a passing lane. So our next step is to complete the traffic study report. There's no funding for improvements identified within the 7-year budget. The new 7-year draft budget just came out in an email before I left, so I can't say what's there now, but I don't think they have anything extra. Regular maintenance project is scheduled for 29. I don't know whether that moves since I didn't have a chance to find it. And in February, the Idaho Transportation Board approved for staff to pursue a STAR, sales tax anticipated revenue, agreement with Brighton Development. We've gave it a key number in our financial document. We're expected to complete it this summer. The agreement is for a maximum of $35 million of improvements. From what I've heard, that they're around the preliminary design phase. With ITD, when we're at that, we have a 30% variance. I've talked to Brighton, they say they have a lesser percent, but they're really looking around 30 million right now, supported by their level of design. It wouldn't all be on Highway 69, it would also be along Lake Hazel, so the ACHD roadway would be improved also. I managed to miss that meeting today. Physical therapy instead, that's a priority for me. So sometime this summer, we'll have an agreement based upon the development that they are working on. That gets written into the agreement. So we thought we'd get it this June, but they're still designing, which means they're still putting together the agreement. The last item, there was a Boise Dev article came out yesterday. We have still another project to look at Cunamora Road. It's actually a transportation connectivity study. Some of it would look at, do we need to, would it work better if like Eagle Road went through the soccer fields, et cetera. But it's looking at extending, it's called State Highway 69 Extension down to Cunamora, and then Cunamora out to Blacks Creek Interchange. We have a selected consultant. We're still working through the scope of work. We'd actually look at out to State Highway 45 in Beaumont. We would look at an extension of Highway 16 to the south. We'd look at 10 Mile, et cetera, all the way over. And it would be a study. Part of the frustration of media trying to interview us on this is that we're just gonna have a white background. We're not doing an alignment study. We're not going through people's properties or houses. It's links and nodes and traffic modeling software, and through that we're looking to see what pieces we need to connect together. I'd recommend looking at the Boise Dev article. It's going to do a better job than me trying to explain it here. That one is actually looking at a 9-month once we go to notice to proceed on our contract. But a lot of planning work being done. So at this point, we'll be quiet and stand for questions.
When you looked at the amount of accidents on Meridian Road, did you see any trends for the causes of those accidents? And if so, were those considered when making these proposed improvements?
The largest type of accident was rear-end accidents, outside of, some of the alcohol or drug-impaired accidents that cause like head-on collisions or like side swipes was also a common one. One thing that will help with the rear-end accidents is adding those right-hand turn lanes everywhere. But yeah, that's rear-end accidents are pretty common with signals, and one of the biggest ways to help them is by adding right turn lanes.
Regarding the landscape buffers outside of the right-of-way, in theory, who would own that? Would that be retained by the agent, the governing agency, public? Would that go back to ACHD? Would that be with city? Is there any concept on that?
I have not read state code, but my district engineer assures me that state code does not permit ITD to maintain pedestrian facilities. We have built them on Chinden as part of the widening project there. I know there's some disagreement as to who actually maintains them. That's above my pay grade for working out who does that. We did put them in because both Meridian and CUNA have Highway 69, a special corridor in their comp plans. I know CUNA has a 50-foot offset for residential, 30-foot for commercial. I think Meridian Road, or City of Meridian has a 50-foot standard setback. And I think both are 10-foot separated pathways. So we've put it in there just like we have for other widening projects. I did ask about the state legislature passed a bill, and I was told that that only affects the prohibition on pedestrian facilities is only in effect if you are shrinking the size of existing lanes. Because we are adding, we can put pedestrian facilities in, like pedestrian facilities. If we were to say take our 12-foot lanes and shrink them to 11 and then put something in, that would go against the statute that was passed by the legislature.
Okay. Related question, in most of these reaches where we have these buffers, do we already have the existing space, or are we looking at potentially having to claim eminent domain? Is this above your pay grade? Do we, because you mentioned that the right-of-way is 122 feet. That is not inclusive of that 30 to 50-foot buffer. So we're talking about an additional 60 to 100 feet. That isn't accounted for, or is it accounted for yet?
Actually, the pathways we're looking, with the separation of, how many feet are we separating the pathways again? That's,
It's a minimum 8-foot separation, more like here.
all I can look at is what Brighton's looking at, and I know there's sidewalk pathway was added as part of a Meridian project closer to Amity. That there's, it looks like when it's being redeveloped, there's room. Potentially, if it's not redeveloped, you could end up in situations like that. I'll say that we don't have projects. Some of it is we're waiting for this Brighton development to come through and understand what work they're doing, essentially work around them, that they're doing the first piece in the middle. If you look at our document, at least I don't think it's changed. They gave project limits from Victory to the north to Columbia in the south, not including the intersections. But the amount of money they have, they aren't going to be able to do all that. So we'll find out as they move forward how much they're actually going to do. Then I think you end up filling in the pieces after that.
Okay.
One thing I want to add, Leah said something like this might come up. Not totally familiar with this, but she said so the 30 and 50-foot setbacks are for state highways, and assuming that Meridian Road extension gets built, there is, I believe, the possibility that it becomes a lower classified road, so that 30 to 50-foot distance decreases. I'm not sure what that value is, but it would be less right or less take, essentially.
So through the areas that we're potentially going to be widening from Avalon north, the existing facilities that have been entitled in the last 30 years, let's say, have sufficient setback, generally speaking, so it would really only impact any facilities that are potentially still rural in classification? Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
I think, just looking at the roll plots that we have, I think CUNA looks clear. There are pinch points, as we showed up in Meridian, especially between Harris and Victory. When they widened it in 1990, I took a 10-foot slice off the front of the subdivisions there, and we did have someone contact us, like, yeah, there's not much bite left there, and that's why we were looking at, well, you've got the cut. how do you level it and get that to fit in there? So that's gonna be some tough engineering in some places. In talking with Brighton, they said, do you want us to grade down to road level to put the bike pedestrian facilities in? And he said, no, having vertical difference is fine. I guess as long as when you get down to the next intersection, you drop it down to that level. And I think that makes more sense for them, more sense for people to have not only horizontal but vertical separation. And I think it makes it less expensive for them to do that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one question. I don't assume that the Highway 69 extension is going to happen in the next couple of weeks. So, thought process behind the curve that's out there now, the speed limit's 45, no one drives 45 around there. Trying to get out of Cuna Road and go east into town, you're taking your life into your own hands. Is there any way to reduce the speed limit from, say, Deer Flat all the way into town?
Our speed changes are done as a result of studies done by our traffic engineer. I can bring that up, I guess, as a separate, probably, the planning and zoning wants to send a request in to our district traffic engineer. The caveat we give is that they look at current 85 percentile speed, and sometimes you end up going faster instead of slower. It's, I think of it as an anti-speed trap that because it's based upon current, quote, safe speed, so you just can't drop the speed arbitrarily on a facility that looks like it's drivable at that speed limit. But yeah, that's something that would go through our traffic section.
Well, trying to cross traffic on a curve, it's hard to tell which lane cars are in when they're coming into the curve. And I assume, I live close to there and I hear sirens all the time. So I assume that it's not a really safe curve.
Yeah, one of the fatalities was, I can't remember the details exactly of the fatalities, but it was at the Cuna curb. So it's probably something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for a well-presented.
Moving to our public hearings. First on the docket this evening, case number 24-05-S, 24-08-AN, and 24-23DR. Preliminary plat annexation and design review for Madrone Village subdivision. This is a continuation from our meeting on March 11th, 2025. Troy?
Thank you, Brian. For the members of the commission, this is Troy Behunin. Good evening, members of the commission. The applications before you this evening are a continuation from the March 11, 2025 meeting. They are a request for annexation of approximately 79 acres into the city of Cuna and to apply the R6 and C1 zones. The applicant is also requesting preliminary plat approval in order to subdivide the property into 354 single-family lots, 38 common lots, 12 common driveways, a school lot, and also a city park. The site is located near the southwest corner of 10 Mile and Cuna Roads. Staff would like to highlight that the developer is also working with the Cuna Rural Fire District as well as the charter school for that on-site school lot, and also working with Parks and Rec for a city park. Tonight's meeting is a continuation, and at that meeting on March 11th of this year, the commission had 3 requests from for the applicant. There were other requests inside those requests, but there were 3 main ones. One was get an accepted TIS, traffic impact study from ACHD, and there was supposed to be a transition of homes, and the third was a central open space connecting the south part of the site to the north part of the project, which the applicant has responded to the commission's requests and also to other outside agencies' requests, and updated preliminary plat and the landscape plans are included inside the packet, and they are also available online for the public. The applicant has also made necessary adjustments to accommodate a 40-foot Boise Project Board of Control easement along the Sunbeam Street and Bead Lily Avenue frontages. An exhibit demonstrating the cross-section of those frontages is also included in tonight's packet. Staff has reviewed the proposed annexation and the preliminary plat design review applications for compliance with CUNA City Code, State Code, and CUNA Comprehensive Plan. And should the commission recommend approval for the annexation and the pre-plat applications and approve the design review application, staff would recommend that the applicant be subject to the proposed recommended conditions of approval that are outlined within staff's report. The applicant is present tonight. They do have a new presentation to demonstrate their compliance with the commission's request and also that of Boise Project Board of Control. And I will be here for any questions that you might have.
If the applicant would like to come forward?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Stephanie Hopkins with KM Engineering. Our address is 5725 North Discovery Way in Boise. I'm excited to be here this evening. Thank you for having us. We are thrilled that we were able to fulfill the request that we had the last time we met in March. As Troy mentioned, we now have an accepted TIS from ACHD, and we have an accepted or a final staff report from ACHD as well. The final staff report from ACHD is reflective of what their draft report was. So I can, Troy, I don't know if you have my presentation or if that would be helpful, but we've also made some changes based on the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation and conversation about the transition and lot sizes. Can I pull my presentation? Oh, it's on there. Okay, sorry, I'm like trying to look through files now. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we resubmitted a revised preliminary plat that has those changes. So Boise Project Board of Control has a facility that actually crosses through the site. We'll be relocating that to the periphery along Sunbeam and Bead Lily, which is the proposed collector roadway that we'd be constructing with this property. This is the original layout that was discussed the last time around. North is facing to the right. This is Bead Lily, which is where the 40-foot irrigation easement will be. It stops right about here. And then there's a section of it that'll be along Sunbeam, which is the southern road here. So this is the original layout. This is the revised. The big thing that you'd notice is that the landscape buffer here along Bead Lily and Sunbeam has been extended 40 feet. So we're going to include some landscaping within that would include like boulders and some things that we've gotten approved from Boise Project Board of Control. It'll be a really nice buffer as well to the agricultural uses and larger property to the west, which was a discussion we had the last time, more of a transition for those properties. We also readjusted some of the lot sizes along this boundary as well to make them a bit larger. We did used to have, we've basically swapped out 24 of these skinnier, the kind of smaller single-family residential lots with the larger standard single-family residential lots. So there are now 24 of the larger lots to provide more of a transition and just larger products. And then smaller lots are still located in the center of the subdivision to buffer existing uses. We heard you on the open space, more in the south part of the development, so we included a nice little pocket park that'll provide kind of a central open space for folks that's connected with a pathway that goes to the north on the, kind of in the center of the site. And we also added a couple of pathways that connect from Sunbeam and the internal sidewalks up to the north to the commercial area. So these are the kind of vegetated areas here. Our rendering shows that those would have trees alongside the pathway going north. So those were all discussions we had the last time we met with you all, and changes we made because of that discussion. Let's see, that's all I wanted to discuss there. So this is the revised layout highlighting the change in lots. So the overall lot count changed minorly from 414 to 409, and that was really to decrease the number of common lots that were needed for landscape buffers between like end caps, essentially, because we increased the size of lots within the development. And then, as mentioned, we swapped out those smaller product type for the larger. This is the section that Troy was talking about, so highlighted here. This is what would be along Bead Lily and Sunbeam. So just an extended landscape buffer to provide a nice transition from existing uses and the collector roadway with some landscaping and fencing. And then our standard section here that includes fencing, landscaping, same boulders, so it'll be really consistent and carry nicely forward above where the irrigation easement is not located. So the ACHG staff report we received on April 22nd, and the site-specific conditions were the same as they were with the draft report. They are requiring that the school complete its own traffic impact study, which is a standard that's usually required for schools, and it gives them the opportunity to look at their traffic separately and require any mitigations that would be appropriate for that use specifically. And then they'd like to see an updated intersection analysis for Black Cat Road and Columbia Road. And that's prior to the 200th lot, so that would be one of our later phases, probably phase 4 or 5. They want to see that updated intersection analysis before they would sign the final plat for that phase. There was some discussion the last time around about traffic at the 10 Mile and Cuna intersection, and just really wanted to highlight that this development will be providing 2 points of access to Cuna Road that don't exist now, which will provide a really great option for north-south traffic to not use 10 Mile if needed. And we'll be adding turn lanes and other things to make sure that traffic is able to go to and from the site efficiently. Another thing that was in the ACHG staff report are the improvements that we'd already planned on doing. So those are the other site-specific conditions in that report, including including Madrone Avenue as a 36-foot street section. They mentioned the vacation for Yankee Rock, which is unopened right-of-way on the east side of the site, and dedication of Cuna Road, as well as the construction of Bead Lily, which is the collector on the west side of the site. So we are really excited about this project. It's proposing additional housing options for this area of Cuna. Will provide a nice site for a charter school and future commercial opportunities, which don't currently exist south of the tracks. It's also going to provide major infrastructure improvements that will provide very important connectivity, alternative travel options, and if approved, this project could alleviate costs that are associated with infrastructure that'll be needed for the fire station. We've had discussions with the fire chief and understand that they don't currently have improvements that are related to sewer extension and some other things that are pretty costly within their budget. So it'd be really great to partner with them on this development, and I think that's it. So look forward to your discussion, and I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for the applicant at this time?
Yeah, if you could you kind of walk me through the intersection improvements? It looks to me like we're going east on Cuna Road, across the tracks through town, out to Highway 69, correct?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Maine. Apologies.
That's okay.
I might need glasses. I might need to talk through your question a little bit. So you're saying that intersection improvements that would be required for this development? Or for just in general? So this is a graphic that was put together by our team to show what ACHG's capital improvements are planned for the city of Cuna. Everything in blue are developments that have been approved or are in process. So everything that we are proposing with our development will be improved. So the red is the Bead Lily Collector, green is Madrone Avenue, which is a new street for the main point of access to the subdivision that would be completed with ours, and then we're going to be completing a section of Cuna Road as well as Sunbeam The traffic impact study and the ACHD staff report didn't require any improvements to intersections specifically with this development, but they did ask that we reanalyze Black Cat and Columbia in the future, so they can assess whether there are mitigations needed at that time. Does that answer your question?
No.
Maybe you could ask again, or somebody else on my team knows what.
No, I've been going through your traffic study here and some of the improvements, and I'm looking at this sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a page number for chance?
And some of those intersections on the ACHD plan are out 15 years for the improvements. And I'm just wondering how we're handling traffic going east on Cuna Road. Are we going through downtown Cuna?
Well, I think, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Main, I think there are several options for folks. So I would venture to guess that a lot of people that are traveling east to go to work or whatever in the morning probably won't want to go through downtown Cuna. They may go west and then north or south on Black Cat, thank you. Rather than going through downtown Cuna. But again, our traffic engineer didn't find that we would need to make improvements to any intersections there. And there is analysis about, what the percentage of traffic is during the PM and AM peak hours and where they would be going. And ACHD made their recommendation based on the traffic impact study, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant at this time? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead and we'll open the public hearing at 6:56 here. Is there anybody who wanted to sign up and testify on this application that has not had an opportunity to yet? If you come up and sign your name, please. Let me just check. Making sure we're on the right form. And if you could sign up in favor, neutral, or in opposition, please. Okay. All right, first on the list, we have Stephanie Hopkins. Ah. Thank you. Next, I believe, sorry if I butcher this, Pat Huffaker? Pat Huffaker?
She doesn't want to test.
Okay, thank you. Next on the list, we have Cindy Geeson.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Cindy Geeson. I'm at 1363 South Ash Avenue, Cuna, Idaho. I just, mostly I'm neutral on this. I just had some questions and have made some observations I'm hoping that you'll pay attention to as you go forward. First, the original layout and this other one seems to be a great improvement, so great work to the staff and the people that consider all those other things. So that was nice to see. I'm just, we get promised a lot of things like giving land away for certain purposes and for commercial. And so you've made this a use kind of property. And in the past, we always get burned on the commercial. And that side of the tracks, by having commercial there, it might reduce some of the traffic trips, the trip-ins from these. 300, 400 homes. So like in the past, it would be awesome if you could make that a priority before they do a lot of, development, that they actually have a buyer and people who are going to develop there. And personally, I have 2.5 acres, and this commercial is 2.5 acres, and what I see in there is a dream. Okay, it's not going to happen. I think the best we'll do is get another Jackson sign posted there saying, coming. So I'd like you to really pay attention to that and make it happen, and let's start a standard of making them do some of that commercial and have contracts before they start, digging up the ground. I live on Ash, which has Sunbeam going through it. And we've fought hard to keep traffic from dumping in there because we have a very small road that we kind of have to pull over to let other people pass by when we don't want improvements because they like their lifestyle being able to park on the road. So in the past, you've blocked it, and I can see a straight path through to our street, and it ends at our street. It'll never go to school for a long time. So I'm wondering what kind of, if you pay attention to that, and what kind of, what are you going to do? I know there's another a person on Sunbeam that might open that up, but before you let it be open, please look at our street and leave it alone. And just don't try to, I think they've got a lot of diversion there that might be helpful, but please do something to help us out there, because we've already approved something across the street. They haven't developed yet, but that was already going to impact our street greatly. And finally, when you guys approve a community like this, it seems like you're not paying attention to 5G towers and energy storage areas. If you look at the development that you approved on school, some reason you put it right next to 5G power, and you put in lithium batteries surrounding it, which totally degrades the property value. And there's acres next to it, and it's, they're just putting them everywhere. And Ada County is doing new code, and I'd like you not to put any more of those in place around neighborhoods until you update your code. And I think Ada County might come up with some good energy solution code that actually, if a fire happens, even with the fire department there, they aren't going to put this out. The solution has always been let it burn. And the 5G towers are harming people. If you do your studies, there's people out there fighting it in Ada County. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. All right, next up, Tim Jensen.
Tim Jensen with Kuna School District 711 East Porter Street here in Kuna. Just wanted to get up and reiterate our stance in opposition to this. We weren't able to come to an agreement with the developer on this, and I know part of their conversation is by putting a charter school in, it takes away that impact, and I would say it might lessen the impact, but there's still going to be kids that come to our schools that are overcrowded. As you guys know, I'm principal at Fremont Middle School, and as of right now, we're over capacity in all three of our grades, and we barely got done with this school year. And so there is an impact. I know Assistant Superintendent Reddy has been in contact with Mr. Eck and kind of explained the board's wishes for these things. But anyway, just I know we've spoken about it, and you've got a letter on it. Just want to get up and give that position again, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Tammy Huff. Thank you. And Michael Klein.
Michael Klein, 475 South Mid-Pine, Kuna, the Sutter's Mill subdivision that's right next. And I can't believe that the ACHD or the traffic study means that nothing is going to be done to the 10-mile intersection. it's already getting to be a pain at high traffic times. And with all those extra houses there, it's going to be much, much worse. I want us to be looking forward. I want something in place for that intersection, because it's just going to become unusable for the people who come in and out of there constantly. Especially with a whole bunch of more cars and people. You know, they were saying that there's other ways to go in and out, but a lot of people are going to be coming through Kuna. And that means they're going through that 10-mile intersection on Kuna. And that is my main concern. I put myself opposed. I'm not opposed to the subdivision. I just want it to be planned better for the traffic, because it's going to cause headaches for those who live around it right now.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Last call for this application. If there's anybody who wanted to speak, go ahead and have an opportunity to. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:05. Stephanie, if you'd care to rebut.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. The developer's up here too, so we'll both kind of tackle the discussion. But I think in regard to Ms. Eason's comments, the commercial lots that we're proposing within the development are in the first phase, but tenants do tend to follow residential development. So a lot of that stuff, you know, we obviously are excited about the commercial component, think it'll be really great for this part of Kuna, and think it'll be a really great benefit, but that'll depend on the users that come in for the most part. We will plat it though with the first phase. And then just wanted to, I guess, emphasize and mention that we did donate, or the developer donated the fire station lot to the fire district. So that is one expense that they will not have to cover with the bond or otherwise. Let's see, as far as schools are concerned, I think a charter school in this location will be a really nice option for folks. There were quite a few folks that came to the last hearing that were supportive of Sage in particular, and we're currently driving to Boise to have their children go to the school. I think it'll add variety to Kuna and provide an option for folks, especially in this part of town, to have their kids go to a school like that. And then as far as the 10-mile intersection, so this project will be developed in about 5 to 6 phases. It'll probably be over a 10-year period. A lot of the roadway improvements will be assessed as the project continues on. And there are a lot of developments that are happening in this area that will also contribute to improvements to intersections and the roadways within this area. So it's not that this project isn't doing any improvements, it's just not being required at this point. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Tim Eck. I am the applicant. I live at 6357 Buena Vista Lane in Star, Idaho. Within our first phase, we will be providing 2 fully functional, one is a partial mid-mile collector, and the other is a local connections to Kuna Road. These roads will have Kuna Road will be widened with left turn lanes, right turn lanes, acceleration, deceleration lanes. So these intersections that we're providing will be far more functional than the existing 10-mile Kuna Road intersection. The placement of the Falcon Crest Charter School would never be approved today because their accesses onto 10 Mile don't meet any of the offset standards. We'll be able to provide the people that live in Sutter's Mill and the other subdivisions 2 more points of which they can get onto Kuna Road with fully functional intersections versus the 2-lane with no turn lanes, no left turn lanes. So we mitigate the traffic on that intersection significantly by tripling the connectivity to Kuna Road for them. And then with the schools, while our charter school that goes in there, it's not going to accommodate K through 12, but it will, at full build-out, accommodate approximately 3 times the amount of students that will be produced by our subdivision. So while we might not be taking care of the high school students, we're providing 3 times the seat capacity of the students that are being generated in the global picture, which will help mitigate the impact on the grade schools and the middle schools. And just provide that charter school option for CUNA residents.
I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
And the stub of Sunbeam that goes, I believe, where she was talking to Ash Lane is, it is east of 10 Mile, is that correct? Yeah, it's east of 10 Mile. So Sunbeam already exists for Half Mile, and we'll be extending Sunbeam over to Bead Lily, which will allow any of the traffic that might want to go Sunbeam east. It'll provide them a connection to Bead Lily, which is in the mid-mile, that'll get them to CUNA Road. So there's just a lot more access to CUNA Road to take them off of 10 Mile and CUNA Road. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Any final questions before we go to deliberation?
Yeah, one question for the traffic engineer. How many trips were generated by this development?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Main, I'm not the traffic engineer, but I am a planner representing the client, or a client. So I can look and see, I can't remember offhand. Commissioner Main, I apologize, I don't know exactly where it is in the report. Do you happen to know where it is, and do you have the number? Andy?
No, I wasn't testing you.
Oh, I thought maybe it was a little test. I know, and I just have the ACHD report with me right here, so. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Main, one of our development team folks is saying it's usually 10 per household, so it'd be around like 3,000 probably. So we have. Okay. Of the ACHD staff report.
Hey, Commissioners, this is Troy Buchanan, Development Services Department. It is on page 1. What the April 22nd, 2025 report from ACHD indicates is it will generate approximately 6,053 vehicle trips per day and 484 vehicle trips per hour at the PM. And that's just based on the impact study that they've accepted.
That's based on the original lot count, so it's decreased since then, but.
And so we had a significant lot count reduction, but the staff report was based on the original lot count. So how many lots less do we have?
We've lost like 80 lots since the original.
So the numbers are representative of 80 lots more than we actually have.
Which, if I heard correctly, is about 800 trips reduction. So we're looking closer to 5,200, 5,500, somewhere in there.
Correct, thank you.
I have a question that I don't know if the developers can answer, or Troy, about how the city park is going to work with the school.
For the record, this is Troy Buchanan, Development Services Department. So that's an excellent question. I can answer part of that. I know that they're working directly with Bobby Withrow, Parks and Rec, and the developer, Tim Eck, and his team have collaborated with Parks and Rec, and they will come up with, and they've also included a potential school into a three-way agreement. So for that, I would turn it over to Tim to kind of expound on that. But yes, it's a detailed agreement.
So the plan was to put this park facility right next to the school, so the school will have priority use over the park during session, which is a time when parks are not generally publicly used and tends to be the time frame when vandalism occurs. So we'll mitigate the vandalism in the public school, or the public park, by having the school there supervising, watching, and the school using it. Then once school's out of session, it's fully open to the public. And we work with Parks and Rec. We put in all the improvements that are laid out on the preliminary plat, multi-use sports fields. What do we have in there?
It's
Basketball
just-
courts.
Yeah, you have your sports courts, and then it's a concept showing like a soccer field and a tot lot.
Yeah, it's sized to be large enough for football, soccer, or lacrosse. So it's an amazing amenity for the school to have next to it. We have suggested there would be a cost-sharing agreement for the maintenance between the school and Parks and Rec. So Parks and Rec is not picking up the total maintenance cost. The school will be sharing that cost with them.
So a mother that lives in this subdivision and wants to take her 3-year-old to the park at 10 a.m. Monday through Friday is not going to be able to go to that park?
You know, the final, all those final details have still got to be worked out with Parks and Rec and the school. But the concept was to have the school have the priority use. I don't know that they're gonna have issues with mothers with 3-year-old kids coming over there and using the park when the kids are in school, but they're not gonna want mischievous kids out there hanging out, interrupting the school activities.
Okay.
So on that note, just real quick, the additional green space, the additional park down at the south end of the track, was there concept for tot lot or any kind of amenities at that location?
We plan on having a tot lot in the main park, but at the last meeting, Mr. Main inquired about having some sort of an open space up at this end, and at that time, before we had this canales that we had to add, we had like a 40-foot wide pathway going through the subdivision. Well, to try and keep everything to fit, we had to squeeze that pathway to a more traditional width pathway, but then we backed out a couple of lots right there, and that could be in that particular block, or it can be moved to any of the next 2 blocks if there was a better location. But we put it in that lot and consumed, lost 2 residential lots to put it there, so that you had that park resting, sitting area, but we pretty much just plan on it being, an open grassy area with landscaping and some benches as requested.
Okay. Thank you kindly, appreciate it. Okay. And we have closed testimony. Okay, so that brings us to our deliberation.
Well, I'm kind of torn of that. I appreciate the fact that Tim's willing to donate land to the fire department, which is needed on the other side of the track. And I do like the charter school there, whether the school district thinks it will alleviate any load to them or not. I still have issues with traffic. And, I see a lot of traffic actually going in Kuna through town, out to Highway 69. You've got railroad crossings there. I'm not sure how that's gonna work. And I realize we're in several phases here, and phase 1 could take 5 years to build out. So, yeah, I'm torn here on creating a traffic problem and the amenities that we can get from this.
Similar feelings as Jim. My concern is the traffic.
Again, the traffic, but I do agree there's lots more access, different ways to go, but I still think 10 Mile and Kuna Road's gonna be a problem, because it's already a problem. I also see people going out Sunbeam and down 10 Mile to King Road. That's the best way to avoid the railroad tracks. And I honestly, I think probably that road can handle it. I absolutely detest the idea of a city park being used by a charter school. And also, I admire this charter school. I have some people I know that are going to it, and I think it's a great charter school. But by only going to the 8th grade, where do those 9th graders go? Probably the high percent of them will funnel into Kuna High, which is already overloaded, and that becomes more of a problem for the school district. So that's some of my thoughts.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the unfortunate thing about the traffic is we're in an interesting situation with our relationship with ACHD, and you don't get it till you need it. It's kind of the position we've been put in. That's always the hard conversation when it comes to traffic. I love the fact that, as we've all stated, bringing the fire station down here is really important to the community. And having the additional options of the school is good. I really appreciate the effort that the developer and their team have put in to reducing the number of lots and creating a better, more usable community. The walkability of this community is admirable. And I really appreciate the fact that we've added the additional open space as you enter the track. So, I mean, it is hard. I mean, we're it's getting tight down there. So,
For the record, Sherby Heenan, just want to touch on just a couple of things real quick for the commission's consideration. As you pointed out, a lot of the traffic issues that all communities go through, they're driven by development. It's developer motivated, developers that are motivated to put these developments in, and those improvements are on the developer's dime. So, you know, it's nice to be concerned about traffic, but being concerned about traffic is only half of the issue. You also have to think about how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, who's going to fund it. And the fastest way to get improvements is to allow the professionals take care of it. ACHD's reviewed this, ITD's reviewed this. ITD has also reviewed the traffic impact study. Whenever a traffic impact study is required by a development anywhere in the city, ITD also reviews it. And they didn't actually have any concerns, or they would have commented on it. The other thing is, this is something that will be tiered. Black Cat and Columbia will also be an intersection that will be re-studied at the 200th lot. Any idea how far away Black Cat and Columbia is from this project? It's a long way. That tells you where ACHD believes most of the traffic will go. A long time ago, people started complaining about not having emergency services on the south side of the track. Now developers working with them to not only gift them the land, but also to bring those improvements which they haven't planned on. Anyway, I'll stand for any questions if you have any.
all right. I think with that, I'd stand for a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend denial of case number 24-05-S and 24-08-AN.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, nay. Uh, Motion passes to deny. I'm sorry? Recommend.
Recommend.
Yeah, recommendation for denial. Okay. Next on the docket this evening, do we need to make a motion for a short recess, or? Okay. I'd like to take a short 5-minute recess. All right, we'll come out of recess at 7:29 PM. And moving on to the next case. Next on the docket this evening, item B is case numbers 25-02S, 25-01AN, and 25-03DR for subdivision annexation and design review for Crimson Square Marina.
Good evening, members of the commission. Marina Lundy, planner, CUNA Development Services Department. The application before you this evening requests annexation, preliminary plat, and design review approval for approximately 5.98 acres with a proposed zone of C1 neighborhood commercial, and to subdivide the site into 7 commercial lots and 1 common lot. The site is located at the corner of North 10 Mile Road and West Deer Flat Road. Staff recommends that there be a clearly identified pedestrian crossing at the entrance on North 10 Mile Road, that there be a transition from the existing 5-foot sidewalk to the proposed 10-foot sidewalk on North 10 Mile Road, and that any landscaping that will grow taller than 3 feet be pulled 10 feet back from the North 10 Mile Road and West Lamb Black Drive entrances. Staff would also like to note that the staff report states 6 commercial lots, which is an error and will be corrected to reflect 7 commercial lots. Staff has reviewed the proposed application for compliance with CUNA City Code, State Code, and the CUNA Comprehensive Plan, and should the commission approve the design review application and recommend approval for the annexation and pre-plat application, staff recommends the applicant be subject to the proposed recommended conditions as outlined in the staff report. I'll be here for any questions that you have about the application, and the applicant is present tonight.
If the applicant would like to come forward. You have a presentation this evening? Yeah, you want to hit the little...
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, my name is Glenn Walker. I reside at 1831 East Overland Road. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight regarding the proposed Crimson Square development. I'm here today on behalf of the owner to respectively request your approval for the following entitlements: annexation and zoning, preliminary plat approval, and design review. Crimson Square is located at the northwest corner of North 10 Mile Road and West Deer Flat Road. The project site consists of approximately 5.9 acres, currently designated as vacant agricultural land within the Rural Urban Transition Zoning District. Our proposal includes annexing the property into the city of CUNA, rezoning the parcel to a C1 neighborhood commercial in alignment with the city's future land use map, subdividing the land into 7 commercial lots and 1 common lot, and beginning the design review process. The property is surrounded by existing commercial and residential uses: north zoned C1, east zoned R6, and the south and west is zoned C1. Existing adjacent roadways include West Crenshaw Street and West Lamb Black Drive to the north, North 10 Mile Road to the east, and West Deer Flat Road to the south. Also, there's North Waspy to the north and Matter Lake to the west. The project aligns with the City of CUNA's comprehensive plan, which designates this area as commercial on the future land use map. Specifically, the site development supports the following goals and objectives. Goal number 1 is creating a vibrant and economically diverse community which promotes business creation and expansion and relocation, and then also encourages shovel-ready commercial parcels with adequate infrastructure. Goal number 2 is enhancing the quality of the character of the commercial development and supporting connected, well-designed commercial areas. The preliminary plat proposes a 10-foot wide sidewalks along 10 Mile and West Deer Flat for enhanced pedestrian experience, a designated pedestrian crossing at the 10 Mile Road entrance, a transition from existing 5-foot to 10-foot sidewalks, landscaping setbacks of 10 feet for plants taller than 3 feet near the entrances, and internal private streets and lot access designed in accordance with the ACHD and city standards.
We are in agreement with staff's recommendations, conditions of approval, which include coordinating with ACHD and city staff on access, easements, traffic improvements, and lighting, compliance with CUNA city codes for fencing, landscaping, signage, and utility installation, commitment to maintain landscaping in a healthy condition year-round, and ensuring that all future building projects within the development will go through individual design review. We also held a neighborhood meeting a few months or a little while ago, and no one was opposed to the development at that time. We understand that the development will set the foundation for future commercial activity in this growing area of CUNA. And we are committed to delivering a high-quality, thoughtfully designed project that aligns with the city's long-term vision. On behalf of the owners, I want to thank the commissioners and the city staff for their time, review, and consideration of Crimson Square development. We respectively request your approval of the annexation preliminary plat in the design review process. And I appreciate your time and thank you, and I'm here to stand for any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll open public testimony at 7:35. I've got one sign up. Is there anybody else who would like to sign up to testify on this application? I've got Steve Nelson.
Do I need to hit a button here?
Nope, sounds good.
Okay. Hi, I'm Steve Nelson, 1849 North Matter Lake Place. I live right next to Crimson Square. It's a very tiny place, and I like the potential. Hope the builder prospers. I hope the residents get to use an awesome place in the future with those 7 commercial lots. I'm just speaking briefly about not just the decision to build and the quality impact when it's done, but the process, how it's done. I may not be able to make other hearings, so I had to speak now, but I really want construction excellence. And what I mean by that is in 2 points. Clean and in order. Too many times from big cities and small towns, under the banner of it's under construction, sites are left out of order, signs are crooked, like that one on the back wall. You know, construction debris is just floating around, there's muddy, things left on the road until rain washes it away. And it's just not good enough for the people who have to drive by it twice or more a day for a year or more to see that happen. And I ask that the applicant, that the city, that all residents encourage a high standard of keeping the place in order, please, when you're building that. And my second point is really about the neighborhood impact by the workers. I hope the workers have a good experience and everybody's safe and make good money and everything. But I've seen too many times, even in very safe Idaho, that some of the workers, especially those coming from outside of CUNA, drink on the job, especially Friday at 5 o'clock. They smoke marijuana on the job. They leave their trash on the job. And when I've got a teenage daughter and her friends walking by, I don't want 20 and 30-year-old construction workers gawking at them and such. And I just ask, it's never too early to plead for common courtesy and respect of the impact you make, because they may go back to Nampa or Meridian or CUNA or Boise or wherever. But for the people who live here, we want not just a safe environment from construction debris, we want safe attitudes that make people feel like it's okay to walk around, it's okay to be in town, it's okay to live next door to that construction site. So thank you for the chance to share, and I hope quality things happen in decisions, in the process of how it's built, and the following impact. Thank you.
All right, and if there are no others who'd like to testify, we'll go ahead and yeah, go ahead. If you wouldn't mind signing up. Sure. Okay. And, go ahead, and, yeah, we'll fill it out afterwards, that's fine. That works. I think that's your pen, right? Okay, good.
We'll take it.
Hi, my name's Mike Olson at 2230 East Fairview Avenue. Thank you very much, Commissioner, Chairman, and Commission for letting me rebut some of the things that have come up. Mr. Nelson pointed out in terms of construction excellence and the neighborhood impact, and I just wanted to address that. One of our sister companies to Tico One is the Ewing Company. They've been around for 55 years, general contractor. We're held to the highest standards. We do a lot of public work for cities. We've done a lot of the wastewater treatment plants around. We are very stringent on what we demand of our workers, and the cities that we work for also demand that, and so we're very used to that. So there won't be a problem with any of that. I did want to address one of the points that Marina brought up in terms of the transition for the 10-foot sidewalk going to the current 5-foot sidewalk on 10 Mile. Actually, ACHD's plans do call for a 10-foot all the way through, and so it's just going to be a matter of who gets to the construction, whether we're there ahead of time or they are. We will work in tandem with them to make sure that that transition, the current sidewalk is actually presently west. It will move east slightly when it becomes the 10 Mile or 10-foot section. So all the people we've talked to in terms of this project have all been very supportive. I kind of, lack of better terms, but I view this is the west point part of the horseshoe for CUNA. Meridian Road coming down, you hit downtown, 10 Mile goes back out, and there's some very much needed commercial services for all of those residents over there. And everyone we've talked to has given us their laundry list of what they're looking for. So we're actively working to bring some very good, much needed services there. Thank you.
With that, we'll close the public testimony at 7:42. Is there any other further rebuttal from? That was the rebuttal, I assume. Okay. All right. That brings us to our deliberation.
That was me. I turned it off at the break.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. Questions, comments?
I think it looks like a good project. I think 10 Mile and Deer Flat is a good location. I think we need to see some more stuff built along 10 Mile so we can get some traffic flowing out that direction as well.
Quick question for staff. There was a point in time where public mailers were issued to this area regarding a potential roundabout. Do we know anything about ACHD plans for this intersection?
I believe that ACHD's long-term plan is a roundabout, but I would have to look at their long-term comprehensive plan to confirm that.
And for the record, Doug Hanson, CUNA Planning and Zoning, just a little bit more context. This development has factored in the right-of-way dedication for whatever that intersection improvement will be.
Yeah, no, the geometry looks fantastic for that. I just wanted to.
Is that what you guys were going to say?
Okay. Cool, they know. Okay. Okay. And that puts this in context as well, and it puts the geometry in context of the intersection.
Yeah, I mean, the area, it's so small, but with it being in that area, I think commercial is a good use of the land.
Yeah, that lot's been empty for a long time, and I think commercial is a great place. That's a great place for commercial. I looks like they've gone to the work to put a lot of thought into what they want in there. That would be really good for what the neighborhood could utilize. So,
Yeah, personally, I'm kind of torn on it. It is close to home, but it is a good use for the space. And I can see the benefit to the community at large for it. Got a gas station only a mile away, but no, I think that is a good use for the space. And especially with that roundabout coming down the line, aren't going to be a lot of other options there. So, yeah. Any other questions for the developer or staff? No. Okay, I think I'd stand for a motion.
So I'll make a motion to recommend approval on case number 25-02-S, 25, and 25-01-AN.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. And we have one more on this case.
Yeah. Just anything that stands out to me there for the design review.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve case number 25-03-DR with conditions as outlined in the staff report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the list, we got case number 25-01 CPF, combination plat for Paul Bunyan. Marina?
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, Marina Lundy, planner, CUNA Development Services Department. The application before you this evening requests combination plat approval to subdivide Lot 1, Block 1 of the Paul Bunyan Plaza subdivision, which is approximately 0.96 acres and is already zoned C2 area commercial. The west side of the lot will be a Mo Betta's fast food restaurant, and the east side will be a Take 5 oil change facility. The site is located at 1460 East Deer Flat Road, near the intersection of North Meridian, East Deer Flat. Staff has reviewed the proposed combo plat for compliance with CUNA City Code, State Code, and the CUNA Comprehensive Plan, and should the commission recommend approval of the application, staff recommends the applicant be subject to the proposed recommended conditions as outlined in the staff report. I'll be here for any questions that you have about the application, and I believe the applicant is present tonight as well.
Kelly, was there an applicant presentation?
Not much of a presentation, just more of agreeing with staff. Jeff Lax, 1119 East State Street, Eagle, Idaho. Again, before you is a combination preliminary final plat to subdivide the existing Lot 1 in the Paul Bunyan subdivision, Deer Flat and Meridian Road, right there. We have two users for the site that was mentioned, and the goal is to create basically two lots for those two users to be on their own standalone lot. Neighborhood meeting was held. There was no opposition and no one showed up to that neighborhood meeting. The design review for those two buildings actually will be heard in 2 weeks in front of you guys too. So we agree with staff and their recommendations in the staff report, and we'll stand for any questions.
Any questions to the applicant at this time?
No questions.
Thank you, Carly.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead and we'll open the public hearing for this at 7:48. I currently don't have anybody signed up to testify. Is there anybody that has not had an opportunity to sign up that would like to testify in this hearing? Seeing nobody, we'll go ahead and we'll close the public hearing at 7:49. Not much to rebut this evening. All right. To bring us to our deliberation. Yeah.
I don't see anything with it. I like commercial.
Agreed, and honestly, looking at this application, looking at the landscape plan specifically, there's a good amount of green being added to the site, and that's one of my, always my biggest stopping points with commercial in general. It's just the concrete jungle effect. There's a good amount of landscaping that's being added to the site, and to mitigate that.
So if I understand correctly, this is just a combo plat tonight?
Yes,
Not
the
design
review.
review? Okay.
Sorry, thank you for reminding me.
Well, that's okay.
All right, stand for a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of case number 25-01-CPF with the conditions as outlined in the staff report.
I'll
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, I believe last on the, or second to last on the agenda here, we've got, under business items, we've got case number 25-11, DR, design review for Valor Classic Academy. Ms. Marina.
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, Marina Lundy, Planner, CUNA Development Services Department. The application before you this evening requests design review approval for the design of a Valor Classic Academy K-12 school on approximately 5.39 acres, already zoned R6 medium residential density in the Valor community near South Cloverdale Road and CUNA Road. Staff would like to note that the site plan will need to be updated to reflect ADA parking spaces that comply with CUNA City Code and trash enclosures that comply with J&M Sanitation's requirements. Staff has reviewed the proposed site plan for compliance with CUNA City Code and the comprehensive plan, and should the commission approve the application, staff recommends the applicant be subject to the proposed recommended conditions as outlined in the staff report. And I'll be here for any questions that you have, and the applicant is present and has prepared a presentation.
Good evening, members of the commission. Katrina Colm, Erstad Architects, 310 North 5th Street, Boise. I'm here representing Valor Classical Academy, and we are grateful to be in front of you tonight. I have an entire slideshow prepared, but being mindful of everyone's time, I do want to give this the due time that it deserves. But we're excited about this proposal. We're in agreement with the city staff report, and honestly, the entire body of CUNA. It has been fantastic to work with. The school held their own informational meeting for parents and people that were interested about their program, and heard nothing but great comments. So we think this is going to be a great add to the Valor community. It is a public charter school, and it will have roughly 700 students at a K-12 full capacity build out. We've worked really closely with Mark Tate and M3 Development, who's doing the Valor subdivision, to ensure that this is in alignment with what their future plans are, and obviously what the CUNA City Code entails. There was a prior approval for the traffic study, so we've accounted for that in the site plan. That is in alignment with everything that has been has had prior approval, including number of parking spaces, bus parking separated from parent drop-off lanes, things of that nature, which is normally a concern on the schools. It will be a 2-story program. It will be in one building with a future phase identified. We can go through floor plans if interested, but I want to get to the elevations. So we are proposing a brick and stucco facade that will be in alignment with the program that's happening. It should look like a school, in our opinion, and it should look like a classical school, which is what the program entails. So we want to honor that through the architecture, and we tried really hard to ensure that that speaks to what is happening inside the walls, which I would argue is more important. We are working, like I said, with Mark on what the ultimate materials want to be. There may be a few color changes involved, but again, want to be mindful of the neighborhood, being mindful of the scale. There is this main entry here that's facing Tiercel Drive and the main parking lot. And we really try to ensure, again, that sort of traditional look, but bring that scale down to that pedestrian element. So the front door and the glazing all should speak to the scale of the parents and the students that are entering. And I think the flat on elevations don't necessarily do it justice. It looks sort of square and boxy, but I think this image here really starts to describe the look and feel that we're really trying to achieve with the overall campus and the school in and of itself. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions on materials or layout. But again, I think it's a handsome building and will fit in with the context of the subdivision and the rest of the community, and we're excited to be here presenting to you tonight.
Thank you. Any questions to the applicant at this time?
I'm a little confused. In the business items, it talks about 75 buildable lots, 7 common lots, 2 private lanes, 22.9 acres. And then she's talking about a building on 7 acres or 5 acres or whatever.
That's definitely a question for staff. Sorry.
That is the build out for Valor Golf Village number 4 in total.
For the record, Doug Hansen, Planning and Zoning Director. It looks like that was just an error on the agenda. The blurb is just from a separate project by mistake. That's just a mistake on staff's part.
Okay.
Yep, this is purely just for the design of the Valor Classical Academy.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the? Thank you, Kathy.
I have a question. What do we have for play fields here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let me go back to the site plan here. So it's a little hard to read in this diagram, but you've got a lower school play area adjacent, which will have actual playground equipment located in that area. And then you have this large green space that exists behind the building itself as far as play fields are concerned. Again, part of this will be taken up in a future use. In addition, we're working closely with the overall subdivision and city park that's going to be adjacent, and then there's additional green space behind the bus parking area. So I think there will be plenty of space on site for all future activities.
Okay, and this is just for school use, right? Correct?
The lot that we are building on is just for school use.
Thank you.
Yep.
So your first build, does that accommodate K through 12, or are you looking at building more to accommodate 7 or 8 through 12?
Great question, Commissioner. We are accommodating the academic program for K through 12. That future phase is intended to be a gym.
Okay.
And associated program locker rooms and things of that nature.
Zoomed in view here. Okay. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant this time? All right, thank you so much. Okay. So, on to our deliberation. No public hearing associated with this one, right? All right.
I usually listen to you for your
Oh, do you?
parking and stuff like that. I don't see anything that stands
Well,
out.
I think it's a fairly good-looking building. I think it's laid out well. I think it'll be a credit to the community out there. And I think it'll function well.
Yeah, I agree. I think the building looks really good. You know, I'm looking at the parking as a parent. You know, it's one of the biggest issues that you have, dropping off kids or picking up kids, and it looks like it's well thought out. You know, separation between the bus drop off and the parent drop off. You know, parking, I don't see any issues with entrance or exit. You know, but the building looks, I think, looks really good.
Honor and Pearson. Okay. That's not currently built out yet. Okay. Trying to get a context for where this sits in the world.
Yeah, I mean, walkways to the future park area, walkways around there, pedestrian stuff. I think the whole layout looks pretty well thought out.
Okay. Yeah, no, agreed. Honestly, I don't have much to say about it. It's a really nice looking facility. Stand for a motion.
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve case number 25-11-DR with conditions as outlined in the staff report.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 That brings us to the end of the business items of the evenings. Are there any updates and reports from staff?
For the record, Doug Hanson, Planning and Zoning Director, no updates.
Thank you kindly.
Commissioners, sorry, just real quick. Matt Johnson with the White Peterson City Attorney's Office filling in for Eric Sand. Just so you know, Marion had a new little one. That's why she's not here. So you might see me a couple times. I know you've seen me before, but you may not remember it. And I also wanted to introduce you to Kelsey Monterth, who's a summer associate in our office and a CUNA native. So just wanted you to know who these faces were over here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Oh,
Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.